The Where Our Minds Wander podcast may contain sensitive content and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow wanderers, to the places our minds wander.
The house at the end of the dirt road, where disembodied voices whisper and strange sounds make the living shiver.
Where shadows lurk at the edge of the woods, just outside your back door. And mysterious lights speed beyond reason across the clear night sky.
Odd events throughout time that lead you down the rabbit hole.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Beth.
And this is Where Our Minds Wander. Hello and welcome to Where Our Minds Wander, all you fellow wanderers. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everybody.
Well, Beth, our favorite season is finally upon us.
It is.
Fall.
Yes.
Heading into spooky season.
Yes.
That means the leaves are turning colors, cider donuts, trips to the orchard, pumpkins,
the farmer's market.
Pulling out the rest of our Halloween decor.
Is there anything left?
Oh, yeah, there's quite a bit left.
Oh, that was a dumb question.
And there's also all the spooky decorations that everybody will be putting up.
Which is one of our favorite things.
I know. I like going around the neighborhoods and seeing what people have done with their homes.
Mm-hmm.
You can't beat that. Although Halloween has gotten a little bedazzled, I guess, for a better lack of terms. I keep going into the stores, and everywhere we go, it's glitter skeletons, glitter pumpkins. What the hell? Can we not scare our children anymore? Does everything have to be like, don't scare the children? I mean, come on, it's spooky season. Why can't we get back into scaring the hell out of kids like it's supposed to be?
I don't really know how to respond to that, but...
Well, that's part of getting candy, being scared. I mean, yeah, you dress up in your princess outfits and things like that, but Halloween's supposed to have this mystique about it, that there could be a ghost around the corner.
Right.
Or you might see a skeleton.
Right.
Not glitter.
To be fair, I agree with you. There's a lot of sequins and, as you say, glitter on a lot of stuff this year. And it's all pink and orange. But well, orange, but like pale orange and like magenta and pale pink.
I feel like it's becoming glam.
Glamoween.
I know. It's so bizarre. I don't know anymore. But that's just me. Maybe I'm just getting old. But I don't think so. I mean, spooky season is supposed to be spooky season.
Right.
Well, that's my take on it. With that said, Beth, would you like to share with our listeners what we're proposing for this Halloween that we did a couple years ago? We thought we might want to bring back.
Yeah, it was really a lot of fun. So we got a bunch of emails from listeners who shared all kinds of paranormal experiences that they had had, from things like an encounter with a possible ghost cat to a haunted B&B that they had stayed in. So this is how it works. If you've had any ghostly encounters or experiences of your own in your real life, we'd really love to hear about them. And they can be creepy or funny or just plain weird.
Yeah. And I know we probably should have fielded these stories months ago, but Beth just proposed the idea the other day. She goes like, oh, why don't we bring back listener stories? I thought, what a great idea. Why didn't we do this a while ago? But here we are. So like Beth said, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's spooky, creepy, whatever encounter you had, shoot us an email at whereourmindswander@gmail.com and let us know. And if we get enough, we'll put them in our Halloween special.
Yeah, so if you get them to us by October 20th, we can make sure that they're in our show on October 30th. So that would be perfect. And you would be part of our show. But more than that, we just like hearing other people's paranormal stories because in a way, they kind of validate the experiences that we've had in this house, which...
And other houses.
Well, true, other houses as well, but specifically together, we've had experiences in this house.
Yes, we have.
So, I meant ghostly ones.
They're pretty out of this world.
Oh, God. So, I think maybe... I haven't talked to Wes about this, but maybe we'll share some of our own experiences that we've had in this house. Ghostly ones.
Yeah. Thanks. You drop it in the middle of an episode. You ask me this, you tell me this now.
I said maybe.
You're putting me on the spot in front of all these people.
I said maybe.
Okay. I'll probably go for it. You know how I give in all the time to you.
Right. That's how things go. Sure. So anyway, everybody, get typing, email us. And again, it's whereourmindswander@gmail.com. And we look forward to reading all of your stories.
Yeah, and for all of you out there that have been purchasing our merchandise on TeePublic, we thank you. Now, TeePublic is a really good platform for us because that way we don't have to carry inventory. But I got to say, they take a huge cut of our profits.
Well, yeah.
I mean, yeah, they do all the printing, the inventory and everything like that, but...
Wait, slow down. Yes, they have all of the merchandise. They do all of the printing.
But it's my designs.
And then they ship it to everybody. But, yes, they do a lot. They do take a huge cut.
A massive cut. Like a $30 item, we get like $2.50. That's ridiculous. But it is what it is, right? The nice thing is people get to have our merchandise and we don't have to carry the inventory.
Right.
Also, there are other ways to support the show. You can head over to whereourmindswander.com and make your way down to the donate button or link. And we accept Ko-Fi, Buy Me a Coffee, and PayPal. Just putting it out there. If you look at our merchandise and you go, well, I don't really want that, but I'd like to support them. Well, that's another easy way to do it. Also, our premium bonus episodes. They're right there, $3 a piece, no commitment. And I guess that's about it. We've rambled on enough before this episode, so I actually know what our story's about tonight because it's one story. We're going to tag team this sucker.
We're going to split it in half, yes, and we're each going to share part of it.
And as always, I'm going to let ladies go first. So why don't you get us started?
All right. So Shepton Mallet Prison in Somerset does claim to be the most haunted prison in all of England. It opened in 1624, also making it one of the oldest. But today, they truly lean into their haunted reputation by offering your usual ghost tours, but also paranormal overnights where you can borrow equipment like REM pods and tools like Ouija boards and do your own investigations. And sleep in one of the cells if you can actually fall asleep. But anyway, before we get into why Shepton Mallet is considered the most haunted prison in all of England, and what sort of ghostly stuff happens there, we have to delve into the history, of course. According to the official Shepton Mallet website, the prison opened as just a small jail in 1624. It was actually already an existing house named Cornhill House, and it was owned by a Reverend E. Barnard. He sold it to be used as the jail for £160. The first governor of the jail was a man named George Sheephay. In the beginning, the conditions at the jail were as primitive as you'd expect them to be in the 1600s. Men, women, and children were housed together, and the severeness of their crimes didn't matter. So, for example, pickpocketing 8-year-olds were kept in the same communal cells as murderous adults. The jail keepers weren't paid very well, and because of that, the discipline at the jail was pretty lax, and they were often drunk and, according to the website, promiscuous. Because there really weren't any rules about sanitation, the prisoners often suffered from diseases like jail fever. By the 1700s, the most common form of punishment was execution, and there were over 200 crimes that were punishable by death. Executions most certainly took place at Shepton Mallet. In 1889, Shepton Mallet was the designated execution prison for the county, meaning that more people were executed there than anywhere else. Samuel Rylands was hanged on March 13, 1889, for the murder of a child. On December 15th of that year, Henry Dayton was hanged for the murder of his wife. And on August 10, 1893, Charles Squire was hanged for the murder of yet another child. But the Victorians were also big on other forms of punishment, especially hard labor, and they introduced oakum picking, the crank, and the tread wheel. Oakum was a form of tarred, braided rope that was used as insulation in both ships and buildings. Oakum picking was when people had to pick the old used ropes apart, separating every strand down to its thinnest piece to be reused in other projects. It was particularly brutal on the hands. The crank was basically a huge wooden drum filled with gravel or sand, and the prisoner had to turn the crank or handle attached to paddles inside the drum. The paddles essentially just mixed the contents around. There was a device that recorded how many times the prisoner turned the crank, and they often had to earn their meals by turning it 1,000 times. The kicker was the sand or gravel that they were churning was never actually used for anything.
No, it was just a punishment.
Right. And then there's the tread wheel. In the case of Shepton Mallet, their tread wheel actually powered something, the mill just outside the prison. But a tread wheel is exactly what it sounds like. It's a giant wooden wheel. Each section was partitioned off so the prisoners couldn't see each other, and they had to continuously step up, like walking upstairs, for as long as 10 hours a day to keep the wheel turning.
That's it. I figured it out. That's how we can make Chonk useful.
You're going to put little steps in his wheel?
No, it's already got little things in it. He'll spin the wheel. It'll be connected to a device that will drop food. So the more he spins, the more food that drops out for him, or treats.
That's terrible. We're not doing that. What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with him working for his food?
He does work for his food. We just can't see it because it's all underground. It's all in his bedding and stuff. He's working all day long under there. You don't know.
He's working at sleeping.
I'm telling you, he's having tea parties under there. So the tread wheel at Shepton Mallet is one of the largest that was ever constructed. In addition to hard labor, the Victorians also instituted the silent and separate system, meaning all prisoners were to remain silent all day long, and each one of them was now housed in a separate cell, so they were kept in silence and isolation at all times. I think about the kids that were in there and just how horrible that is
I
for
know.
children to have to do that.
It's not right. I don't care about the murders, but yeah, those poor children, it's just brutal.
Yeah. So everyone who was executed at Shepton Mallet, by the way, was buried on the prison grounds. By the year 1900, the prison's population had declined somewhat. When a fire broke out in the Sea Wing in 1904, it spread rather quickly, but the prisoners actually helped the wardens and the fire brigade put it out. No one tried to escape, and nobody was hurt. There were 5 additional executions between 1914 and 1926, including an Australian soldier and several civilians. The last female prisoner left in 1918, and by 1930 there were only 50 male prisoners left. It seemed like Shepton Mallet would be shut down. But then, according to the official website, the British military used it as a military prison beginning with the start of World War II. They called it the Glass House. It changed hands in 1942 when it was given to the American military to use. And for the next 3 years, the U.S. military incarcerated over 700 servicemen and executed 18 of them, 16 by hanging and 2 by firing squad. So, according to capitalpunishmentuk.com, that was 17% of the 96 executions that took place in all military prisons during World War II.
That's high.
Yes. A new brick building extension was added to Shepton Mallet specifically for this purpose, which included an enclosed gallows. The prison was so overcrowded that some of the inmates had to sleep in tents outside. Of the 18 executed servicemen, 5 were white, 3 were Latino, and 10 were black, which, of course, raised some questions then and now. Their average age was 21.5 years. Only one was ranked corporal. The rest were all privates. But their crimes included rape, murder, or both. Because it was an American-run military prison, servicemen convicted of sexual assault could be put to death, even though it wasn't punishable by death under British military law. Also, death by firing squad was not allowed under British military law, but it was under American military law. So, I won't go into the specifics of all 18 cases, but I thought I should cover a few since they come into play later. The first serviceman to be executed by hanging was Private David Cobb, age 22. He had fatally shot a commanding officer after being reprimanded while he was on guard duty. Private Harold Smith, age 20, from LaGrange, Georgia, had gone AWOL in London in January of 1943. When he was caught, he fatally shot another officer. He was hanged at Shepton Mallet on June 25, 1943. 20-year-old Alex Miranda from Santa Ana, California, was executed by an 8-man firing squad on May 30, 1944, for killing his sergeant after a drunken altercation. Several of the 18 cases do involve the sexual assault of civilian women or the murder of girlfriends. One involved the murder of a taxi driver. In the case of 20-year-old Private Lee Davis, he was convicted of both sexual assault and murder. While on leave in Wiltshire, Davis apparently approached two young women who had just come out of a movie theater. He asked them what they were doing, and one of the women, Muriel Fawden, said that she was going to her shift at the hospital, where she was a nurse. Davis told both women to crawl into some bushes. When the other woman, Cynthia Lay, tried to run, Davis shot her. Then he sexually assaulted Muriel, who survived the attack and later identified him as the man who had murdered her friend and raped her. During his court-martial, Davis claimed that killing Cynthia was an accident, that he'd meant to fire over her head to scare her into complying. He was hanged on December 14, 1943, at Shepton, Mallet.
That guy got off too easy. Even the firing squad was too good for him. They should have put him on the wheel.
On the treadwheel?
Yep.
Yeah. In each case, as I'd said before, the executed soldiers were buried on prison grounds. But Shepton Mallet Prison, ironically, also became a top-secret depository for the National Archives. Over 300 tons of records were moved from London to the prison for safekeeping. These items included the Magna Carta, the Doomsday Book, and all of the captain's logs from Lord Nelson's flagship, the HMS Victory.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Isn't that weird?
This place just continues to go on, and it was built in the 1600s and then,
Continued to be used.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's amazing.
I know. So, when the Americans left after World War II, Shepton Mallet reverted back to a British military prison until 1966. After that, twin brothers and London gangsters Ronnie and Reggie Cray were incarcerated there. The Cray brothers were the leaders of The Firm, a criminal gang that terrorized London in the 1950s and 60s. They were notorious for armed robberies, murder, and racketeering. Both brothers went to Shepton Mallet Prison on life sentences in 1969. Ronnie Cray was moved to Broadmoor Hospital due to mental health issues, where he passed away in 1995. Reggie Cray was released from Shepton Mallet in the year 2000, and he passed away shortly after from cancer. The Cray brothers were sent to Shepton Mallet because in 1966, it was converted back into a civilian prison, filled mostly with prisoners who had received life sentences. As for the women held at Shepton Mallet, as I had said earlier, in the early days, the females were mixed in with the men. But in 1848, the Sea Wing was constructed, specifically to house just the women and their children.
And we'll talk about that and get into the hauntings after this quick break.
Hey, did you know? The other night, our friend Johnny mentioned seeing pumpkin spice Cheerios in Walmart. And that got me thinking. Since people are pretty much putting it in everything these days, what's the weirdest things that you can actually buy that have been pumpkin spiced? Here they are in no particular order. Pumpkin spice deodorant.
Pumpkin spice cat litter.
Pumpkin spice ramen.
Pumpkin spice sausage.
Pumpkin spice toilet paper.
Pumpkin spice Pringles.
Pumpkin spice Spam.
Pumpkin spice Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Ew. Who'da thunk it?
All right, we are back from the break. And you know what disturbs me most about those pumpkin spiced things?
What?
Pumpkin spice toilet paper. Who wants their butthole to smell like pumpkin spice? And who's gonna know that their butthole smells like pumpkin spice? What's the reasoning behind that?
I don't know, other than maybe when it's on the toilet paper roll, it gives off a bit of a scent, so then your whole bathroom smells like pumpkin spice.
But you're wiping stuff with it.
I know. I don't get it. I don't get the pumpkin spice cat litter either, because then you just have the smell of cat poop mixed with pumpkin spice, and that does not sound appealing.
I'm wondering, when you fart, does it smell like pumpkin spice?
I think that's highly doubtful. I mean, there are some things that I will enjoy pumpkin spiced, like a latte or a cheesecake. But some of these other things, I don't get it. Pumpkin spice.
Spam.
Well, yeah, but ramen? Pumpkin spice ramen?
No, it just doesn't go.
It doesn't work.
Well, I imagine they don't really go over too well, some of these. And the next thing you know, you'll see them at Ollie's. Like for 99 cents, you know?
There was pumpkin, I don't know if it was pumpkin pie or pumpkin spice Pop-Tarts the last time we were there.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, those might not be so bad.
Ice cream.
Yeah.
It doesn't belong on toilet paper. Or mac and cheese. It's definitely a mystery that we're not going to solve.
No, I won't be bringing home any pumpkin spice toilet paper. Or maybe I will, just to see what sort of reaction I get.
All right, that's enough of that. Let's continue on with my part of the story. Women were sent to Shepton Mallet for all kinds of reasons. Some were simply because they were poor and had stolen food. Others were incarcerated just because they had been heard swearing too much, and it wasn't considered ladylike. But there were also female prisoners who were there because they deserved to be there, like Lydia Dyer. Now, we've talked about Lydia Dyer before.
Yes, we have, but for the life of me, I can't figure out when. Like, you mentioned Lydia Dyer to me the other day, and I was like, well, I'm pretty sure we did a whole episode on the baby farming, and we mentioned her. But I went back through all of our episodes and our bonus episodes, and I cannot figure out when we talked about it.
Well, perhaps it was just a conversation that we had between us, and it had nothing to do with an episode.
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, in a nutshell, Lydia Dyer was an infamous baby farmer, a woman who bought and sold babies, and had more than a few pass away under her care. She was at Shepton Mallet for 6 months. But then, there were also women like Mabel Capper. According to InsideTime.org, Mabel Capper was just 23 years old when she was sent to Shepton Mallet in 1911, but she'd been arrested at least 3 times before that. Mabel was a suffragist, and her previous crimes had included things like obstructing police from entering a building. This time, after being barred from entering a building during a speech given by a politician, Mabel had broken 4 windows in the nearby post office in protest. Then she refused to pay the £1 fine for each broken window. She was sentenced to 30 days at Shepton Mallet. Surprisingly, over its almost 400-year history, only 43 inmates attempted to escape. Most were recaptured. The prison was decommissioned in 2013. Then in 2016, according to a BBC.com article, the City and Council of Somerset proposed turning the prison into residential housing that would include 58 homes, 88 apartments, and a museum consisting of 7 of the oldest cells. Pretty quickly, people responded with concern, but not because of ghosts, which we'll get into in a few minutes, but because all the prisoners that were buried in unmarked graves, well, they would inevitably be disturbed. One school of thought was that they should all be located, exhumed, and reinterred. The other school of thought was that they should just be left exactly where they were. But since nobody really seemed to know exactly where they were, well, that was a problem. The housing idea was scrapped. Today, Shepton Mallet is a major tourist attraction. They offer daytime historical tours with either a tour guide or self-guided. They also offer educational tours for school children. And then there's the 4 different escape room packages that you can do, which is kind of ironic inside a former prison. And then there's the ghost tours, of course, the regular ones, and the paranormal investigation ones. Now, if you remember, at the beginning of the episode, Beth said that Shepton Mallet is considered the most haunted prison in all of England, and based on its popularity with ghost hunting groups, it must measure up to that hype. There doesn't seem to be any particular hot spots, and the ghosts seem to travel from one wing to another. Most of the spirits seem to be men, like the shadow man in uniform that has been seen walking up and down the corridors. There's some speculation that he was a member of the American firing squad and was killed when one of the bullets during an execution ricocheted off the brick wall and hit him instead. Now he paces as if he is still on duty. Then there's Captain Philip Warren Ryle, one of the 43 inmates who attempted to escape. One day, while out in the yard, he was able to climb up on an unattended ladder and climb onto the prison's roof. As he prepared to jump to the ground and onto the other side, he yelled, "Get back! Get back!" His jump proved to be fatal. But from that day forward, it was a common story among other inmates that they could still hear his disembodied voice yelling for everyone to get back. Then there's Private Lee Davis, the American serviceman who was convicted of killing Cynthia Lay and sexually assaulting Muriel Fadon. His apparition has been seen wandering Sea Wing as well. In 2023, Nicola Agius, a reporter for The Sun, decided to spend the night at Shepton Mallet during one of the paranormal investigations. She ran a digital voice recorder through most of the night. But it wasn't until she was back in the comfort of her hotel room and listening to the recording when she heard it, a male voice, commanding her to get out. According to the article, even inmates well into the 21st century would avoid the prison library because of the bad vibes that they would feel in there. They would say that objects would get thrown in there, even though there was no one in the direction the object had come from. They would also complain about the doors violently slamming on their own, or the lights flickering. Some even said that they had heard disembodied voices. Well, the prison library was once used as the old execution room, which many of them didn't know. But by far, the most infamous ghost at Shepton Mallet is the White Lady. According to the littlehouseofhorrors.com, in the late 1600s, a woman was brought to the prison on suspicion of murdering her fiancé. She was sentenced to death by hanging. But at some point, before the date of her execution, she asked that she'd be able to wear the white dress that she had planned to wear on her wedding day. It was a strange request, but on the night before her execution, she was given her wedding dress. The following morning, when the guards went to retrieve her in order to bring her to the gallows, they found her lying in her bed, dressed in her white gown, but she was dead. When they examined her body, they couldn't find a single injury and concluded that she had died of remorse and a broken heart. Now, there are a couple things that I find questionable about her story. First, it was uncommon for women to wear white wedding gowns until Queen Victoria made it popular during the Victorian era, a good 200 years after this unnamed woman's death. And second, I find it odd that she would have been lying in a bed. since during the 1600s, prisoners weren't given beds. But maybe I'm being a little too literal. Regardless, the White Lady was seen by inmates and guards for centuries afterwards, and she's still seen today. Apparently in the 1970s, inmates in the A-Wing were constantly asking for more blankets. According to the BBC.com, when asked why, they claim that an unexplained cold breeze was waking them up in the middle of the night. It was so cold that they were lying there shivering. And the icy cold breeze always smelled like women's perfume. The guards began coming forward to say that they too had smelled the perfume. And they understood why some of their fellow officers were refusing to work the night shift. The prison authorities were concerned about all the paranormal talk, so they launched a 3-day investigation to try and get to the bottom of it. According to the BBC article, nothing was determined, and then the reports increased. Officers were now claiming to see a shadowy white figure that looked like a woman in a white dress, standing on various staircases. They had seen a woman's shadow out of the corner of their eyes, and sometimes the smell of her perfume was so strong that it traveled all through the entire A-Wing. Adelaide's Haunted Horizons, a paranormal group out of South Australia, paid a visit to Shepton Mallet. Now, the article doesn't say exactly when, but I'm assuming it was sometime within the past 10 years. During their visit, they spoke to a tour guide who had claimed that while giving a nighttime tour and talking about Private Lee Davis, he suddenly felt a horrible burning sensation on the back of his hand. When he was able to have a moment to look at it, it looked exactly like a fresh cigarette burn. During their night of investigation, they didn't really have much happen, at least not for the first few hours. They said they had heard some weird banging noises while they were in a cell, but that was about it. But then they tried something they call glass divination. Basically, they put one of those light-up cat toys, the ball kind, underneath a clear glass. Then they each put a finger on top of the glass, kind of like a planchette from a Ouija board. As they sat there asking questions and waiting for something to happen, the lights on the ball started flickering. Then the ball started moving around inside the glass. Now, both ladies from Adelaide's openly admit in the video clip that goes with their article that they know they had slightly moved the glass themselves. And if you watch it and watch the top of the glass instead of the ball, you can see that that's true. They did move the glass just the tiniest bit. But then there were times that they were not moving the glass, at least nothing that I could perceive. When the ball actually started to move, then stopped for a split second and changed direction.
So that's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's a bit strange, but it might be able to be explained away. I don't know.
What were they asking at the time? Were they just asking like general questions of whether there was somebody there?
Yes, that's exactly what they were doing.
Okay.
Shepton Mallet Prison definitely has a nasty history, and it does sound haunted. But is it the most haunted prison in England? Well, I guess to make that determination, you'd have to see for yourself and experience it for yourself. For the really brave, there's the Night Behind Bars tour, the one where you can sleep in a cell when you're done investigating. The official Shepton Mallet website describes it like this. Your adventure starts at 8 p.m., where you'll be met by members of our fantastic team who will lead you through the tall prison gates and show you to your cell for the night. This is no ordinary cell. This is a traditional Victorian cell, providing you with a truly authentic experience for your time behind bars. As part of this unique experience, an officer will take you and your fellow inmates on a tour of the jail. You'll visit, amongst other areas of the prison, the Victorian wings, the Old Gate Lodge, segregation, and not forgetting the execution room. After the tour, you're free to explore the site or, of course, retire to your cell for the next few hours. Some will choose to go ghost hunting, and others will roam the spooky corridors, investigating the prison in the dark. But don't even think of escaping. That's pretty good. That's enticing. That's good marketing. It makes you want to go there. And how many places are there where you can actually go and stay the night in a cell?
Well, the whole night, too. It's not just like a couple hours.
I know.
It's the whole night.
It's your own cell.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right.
I mean, at least for a night. For the night owls amongst you, our trusty prison staff are all on site all night. They'll be keeping tabs on you, checking on your good behavior, and will also be able to answer any questions that you might have. Our snack cafe will be open, where you can purchase light refreshments and snacks. At 7 a.m., the giant security gates will open, releasing you back into the world with memories of a very unusual night.
I wonder how many people actually, sleep.
Well, why would you go sleep there, actually? If you're there paying money to go investigate and walk the hallways, I think maybe an hour or two just to see if something wakes you up in the middle of the night. But how could you sleep? And I just want to be going everywhere.
Yeah, and I don't think I could sleep because just the thought of being closed in a cell, even if it's open bars where you can see through, that gives me wicked anxiety.
Well, I don't think you'd want to try to fall asleep there. One is because there's a lot of acoustics there. And you snore like a... I don't know. I mean, you snore a lot. Like a chainsaw. I mean, I'm in a comfy bed laying next to you, and I have a hard time sleeping sometimes.
Thank you, honey. Like you don't snore.
Not that I know of. I'm sleeping.
Well, I think you're lying because I'm sleeping too. I think you snore so loud you wake yourself up and then you blame it on me.
No, that wouldn't be the case here. So, it's a 12-hour experience, and it's only 69 pounds per person, which is about $92 in American money, which to me seems dirt cheap for that type of paranormal investigation experience. But maybe it's because people really don't like the idea of staying overnight in a prison.
$92 per person for a 12-hour investigation? But I'm just thinking, the ones here in the States, you can't do a 12-hour investigation, but
No.
for $92 a person, that's unheard of.
They're not money hungry like the Americans.
Maybe that's it. I don't know.
I mean, what they want for investigations at some of these places, I mean, I know you got to keep the lights on or whatever, but my God, it's expensive.
Hundreds of dollars per person for 4 hours or 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe I would be willing to sleep in a cell.
Well, you've been wanting to move to England. I mean, here you go. We'll just pay rent there.
Wouldn't that be lovely? That would be lovely to live in England.
I know, you keep saying that.
Or Italy.
I don't think they'd want us there.
Us personally?
No, Americans. They'd be like, you're going to come ruin our little village. You and your American ways.
We'll put you in Shepton, Mallet.
Yeah. I just want tea and crumpets.
Yeah. Okay. There's more to England than tea and crumpets, right?
Well, I know that.
Okay. Anyway.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I don't know. That's just how I look, I guess.
Wow. I'm not going to be looking at too much if that's the way you look all the time.
That's my pre-snoring face.
Oh, Jesus. Well, everyone, that about wraps it up for this episode.
Yes, Shepton Mallet Prison.
Beth's going to tell you all about the sources.
They are at the end of our show notes. So if you would like to know more about Shepton Mallet, I'd found some incredible articles that had pages and pages and pages about all of the people that have been put to death there, as well as more of the history that we didn't include. So if you want to know more, you can always check it out.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more there. Join us again next week for an all-new episode of Where Minds Wander.
And send us your ghost stories. See you soon. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to traveling with you again to the places where our minds wander.
If you like what you heard, please take a moment and provide us with a 5-star rating and a comment on your favorite listening platform. It really helps us move up the list and become more visible on the podcast charts so new people can find us.
And thank you all for your continued support.
See you next week for an all-new episode.